This is Freedom Global News.
Senate passes 2022 budget for second reading. Kano State All Progressive Congress takes the party's national headquarters over crisis in the state. Correspondent reports on International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. And on the foreign scene, Russia denies weaponizing energy amid Europe gas crisis. Possessing a permanent voter's card is a duty to all citizens. Please ensure you acquire yours. Good evening, you're listening to Freedom Global News on 99.5 FM. I am Hauwa Adamu Kiyawa. Today is the 13th of October 2021, which is equivalent to the 6th of Rabiul Awwal 1443 after Hijri. And now the news in full. The Senate today passed the 2022 appropriation bill for second reading after over 1 hour of debate on its general principles. President Muhammadu Buhari had on Thursday last week presented a 16.39 trillion naira budget proposal for the 2022 fiscal year. He said out of the total expenditure of 16.39 trillion naira proposed for the federal government in 2022, 768.28 billion naira is for statutory transfers, 6.83 trillion naira is for non-debt recurrent costs, and 4.11 trillion naira for personal costs. The budget has a deficit of 6.26 trillion naira, an amount representing 3.39% of the estimated GDP. Many of the senators who contributed to the debate expressed concerns over the increasing fiscal deficit and the government's penchant for borrowing to fund capital projects. The bill, after scaling the second reading, was referred to the Senate Committee on Appropriations to report back in 4 weeks. Meanwhile, the Senate has suspended plenary till November 9, 2021, to enable its committees to work on the appropriation bill. An all-progressive Congress stakeholders forum in Kano State has petitioned the national headquarters of the party on the need for quick intervention into the crisis bedeviling the party in the state. The petition, addressed to the Chairman Caretaker Extraordinary Convention of APC, delivered on Wednesday, October 13th, was signed by Senator Ibrahim Shekaru, Kano State Central, Senator Barrow Jibrin, representing Kano North, Tijani Abdulkadir Jobe, representing Dawakin Tulfa, Rimungadu and Tulfa Federal Constituency, and Nasir Audua Gabasawa, representing Gezawa Gabasawa Federal Constituency, and Sha'aban Sar'a, Kano Municipal Federal Constituency, among others. Before the submission of the petition today at the party headquarters, the group met at the residence of Senator Ibrahim Shekaru in Abuja on Tuesday night. However, at the continuation of the meeting today, the senator representing Kano South, Kabir Gaya, and a party chieftain, Haruna Danzako, who is also contesting the party chairmanship in the forthcoming APC State Congress election scheduled for Saturday, backed out. The forum said in their petition that despite being a major stakeholder in the party in Kano, with their investment and contribution towards the success recorded in the 2019 elections, the senators from the state are never consulted nor carried along in almost every matter concerning the party. And on the sporting arena, Super Falcons will intensify preparations for their 2022 Women AFCON qualifying fixture against the Black Queens of Ghana when they arrive camp in Lagos on Sunday. Nigeria and Ghana clashed in the final match of the inaugural edition of Women Africa Cup of Nations in 1998, which the Falcons won 2-0. Correspondent Ahmed Hamsugwali has details of this and other sports updates.
Four-strong stallion in the African women football race course have been drawn to play each other for one slot at the next edition to be held in summer of 2022 in the Kingdom of Morocco. The Super Falcons featured in the summer series in the United States of America in June, testing their might against Portugal, Jamaica, and the USA senior women teams, and then feature at the Six Nation Aisha Buhari Invitational Tournament hosted by the city of Lagos in September. Meanwhile, fans of Hungary senior male national football team clash with the police at Wembley Stadium in London at the start of Tuesday 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier against England. Last month, meeting between the side in Budapest was marred by the monkey chants aimed at Raheem Sterling and Jude Bellingham. FIFA urged Hungary to play two home FIFA competition matches behind closed doors. One suspended for 2 years following rash behavior by supporters. In another update, Barcelona will be able to have full capacity at the new camp from Friday after Catalan government lifted COVID-19 restrictions that have limited fans' numbers. Barcelona has not been able to play in front of a capacity crowd since football was first shut down in March 2020 due to the pandemic. And on tennis, Andy Murray plans to skip next month's Davis Cup finals because he is not sure he deserves to play in that team. Murray was knocked out of the Indian Wells Masters in the third round on Tuesday night in a 6-4, 7-6, 7-4 defeat by Alexandra Zverev. Amadam Sugale, Freedom Radio.
The global news is coming to you from Freedom Radio 99.5 FM. You can send your comments, opinions, and watch us live on Freedom Radio Nigeria on Facebook.com. You can get the link to the page on our website, www.freedomradionig.com.
Duk lokacin da kake sanyi da majina, ingantaccen magani, ingantaccen taimako daga sanyi da majina. Duk inda ka tafi, duk inda ka je.
Aha! Procold na da paracetamol da kuma phenylephrine, magani mai sokaka daga sanyi da majina cikin minti 20. Procold ta kamfanin Orange Drugs Limited. Idan alamomin suka ci gaba bayan kwana 3, ka tuntuɓi likitanka. Procold ingantaccen magani.
Musa, kai zama cikin mura da majina kafin na san labarin Mixer Grip. Na wahala sosai cikin iyalina. Na bar zuwa wajen aiki na. Kai, har sallah na dina zuwa saboda mura da majina. Amma Mixer Grip ya yi mun maganin ta. Ban kuma tsallake ko rana ɗaya ba. Mixer Grip lalle ka sha maganin Mixer Grip saboda samun sauki daga ciwon mura da kuma majina. Mixer Grip yana da sinadarin paracetamol da kuma phenylephrine.
Yawwa! Na ji sauki yanzu sosai Alhaji. Na gode.
Mixer Grip an yi shi da dangantaccen kamfanin magani mai suna Orange Drugs Limited. Idan ka ji alamomin mura da majina bayan kwana 3, ka je asibiti ka ga likita. Mixer Grip, kar ka tsallake rana.
Sauki daga majina.
Welcome back. You're still listening to Freedom Global News on 99.5 FM. The International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction is a day set aside by the United Nations on 13th October annually to find a way to reduce the risks of disaster. The Kano State Emergency Management Agency says that floods have eased this year in the state. The chairman of the commission, Saleh Jili, made the statement during a press conference as part of the celebration of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. Correspondent Hafsat Abdullahi Enladi takes a look at the importance of the day and files in this report.
The International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction is an opportunity to acknowledge the progress being made toward reducing disaster risks and losses in lives, livelihood, and health. Disaster impact low and middle income countries disproportionately, particularly in terms of mortality, numbers of people injured, displaced and homeless, economic losses, and damage to critical infrastructure. A few months ago, Kano State was hit by a cholera epidemic that claimed many lives, and 8 local governments were affected by the flood. Chidunwada local government area is one of the flood-affected local government areas whereby farmlands were destroyed. Freedom Radio interviewed some farmers in Tudunwada local government area of the state how they found themselves in the aftermath of the flood and pandemic.
Gaskiya bana mun sami ibtila'i ta ruwa yanda da cikin mutanen da na farko da ya ci mu amfani ko ya ma salamun gona da amfanin gaba daya kuma ga Allah ya sa mun yi noma amfani yayi kyau Allah ya kawo mana ibtila'i na yashi ya rufe mana gonaki.
The chairman of Kano State Emergency Management Agency, Dr. Saleh Jili, said disaster risk reduction in reducing losses of lives and property,
so that we can be having official reports from them. So this 14,244 is what we receive as an official information of the victims. And we have from the 12 local government. And we have 19 members that were affected as a deceased. We have 19 from one local government alone, that is Tudunwada, where 19 people were dead.
Flood, cholera, and malaria are part of disasters suffered, where last year 19 lives and 57,366 houses were lost to the flood in the state.
Abnormal is a disaster. So we have been working around the clock to enlighten the general public about this malaria and cholera.
The National Emergency Management Agency, Kano and Jigawa Zone, Umar Shitu Madigawa, said that there has been many floods in those states. They are trying to reach those areas in order to provide aid to the affected.
To flood disaster recorded a lot of incidences in terms of flood disaster activities. And presently, as you are all aware, you see that there is an intervention made by Mr. President Muhammad Buhari under the National Food Security Council, which is ongoing presently. And that intervention was virtually made to all farmers that were affected by the 2020 flood disaster. And those farmers that were affected were enumerated in June this year. And after the enumeration, which staff of NEMA took their statistics to make sure that all farmers that were affected by that incident have been recorded and their names have been taken, which ensures that
2021 International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction Team is international cooperation for developing countries to reduce their disaster. Hafsat Abdullahi Dalladi, Freedom Radio.
For tomorrow's weather forecast in some cities in Nigeria and parts of Nigerian Republic. We apologize. And on business, Zainab Amina Bakuri has updates.
The executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, Muhammad Naimi, says the agency generated revenues worth 4.2 trillion in the first 9 months of this year. The Senate had in January approved an upward review of the revenue target for the FIRS from 5.76 trillion in 2020 to 7.61 trillion in 2021. Muhammad Naimi, who spoke on Arise TV, noted that the FIRS would have met its 7 trillion revenue target by now, but for the challenges in the oil and gas sector, adding that the cut by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, had impacted the country negatively. According to him, due to the perennial windfall in the oil sector for a long time, tax sources were ignored, including stamp duty, adding that the tax body has now further embarked on an unbundling of its tax administration process. The director of the World Trade Center, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, says Nigeria trade cost is too high and need to be cut down to facilitate local and international investment. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala stated this via a video link on the second day of the midterm ministerial performance review at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Okonjo-Iweala, former Nigerian finance minister, said trade costs could be managed through channels like the African Continental Free Trade Area, improving internet infrastructure to boost e-commerce, implementing regulatory reforms, and developing infrastructure in ports and roads. Speaking virtually yesterday, the WTO DG said a lower trade cost from the factory or farm gates to the final consumer will attract trade-oriented investment into the country. Quoting the World Bank Trade Database for 2019, the WTO chief said trade costs for African countries are on average the equivalent of the 304% tariff. For Nigeria, she said, trade cost is slightly higher at 306%. Zainab Amina Bakori, Freedom Radio.
And on the foreign scene, Russia has denied using energy as a political weapon amid surging prices across Europe that have sent gas bills in many households skyrocketing. Russia, one of Europe's biggest natural gas providers, has been accused of internationally withholding supplies. President Vladimir Putin says such claims were untrue and politically motivate small talks. The European Commission has been outlining measures member states can take to combat rising prices. And with this, we've come to the end of today's Global News. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Hauwa Adamu Kiyawa. Have a wonderful evening.
99.5 FM.